start. Retired from the trade deadline.
Yeah, we were just talking about it.
So Josue's at the Garden. Bobby,
you got to tell your story at some point at this show, but we'll wait. We'll wait.
My gas line, I'll tell it later. Nobody cares.
Oh man, yeah, later. It's worth it.
It's pretty bad. Anyway, so we're here. Bobby's down at the Garden, obviously with Josue. Josue is popping on the show here, and we will get started on I don't know, Josue, I'll let you kind of lead the way on it. You've got the Derrick White, John Zannis apology game, apology cam game. That's obviously going to be a story. Jason Tatum, another effortless kind of, totally effortless, 40 something against Charlotte, who he just friggin' dominates. That was great. But then you also have, some things which I think were not super. Look, and again, you've got another situation where you've got multiple people out and the Celtics, still winning. And again, most teams are having a tough time winning without three core players, but you're missing Smart, you're missing Jaylen, you're missing Al. So that's going to be a problem. So they still have enough firepower to win this one early. Just slightly annoying that they couldn't put them away. But other than that, you never felt like this was the threes are falling. You never felt like this was a game the Celtics had any chance of really losing. They got up to about 30, right? Was that the peak lead? Then just kind of let the Hornets linger. So the end was a little bit annoying. But again, massive performances from Derrick White, who we'll give a lot of love to tonight and a lot of props. And again, an effortless Jason Tatum going in against a Charlotte team that really had no interior defense and no ability to keep him out of the paint, and he was able to do whatever the hell he wanted. So I don't know. You were there. Your main takeaways from this game, and obviously just let's start with White. The vibe from White and the way he was hitting, and just the way people were reacting to it had to be pretty cool.
And I feel like during shoot around, he just had this little extra focus. But he was very not serious, look on his look. It was more light and just okay, I got going through the motions and everything. And he just went off in that first quarter. I just feel like he took advantage of what the Hornets were just not doing in the sense of putting a hand in his face and just leaving him open. I mean, that's sort of always been there for him. And whether it's a confidence thing or whether it's just a matter of him just catching fire the way he did, it all came together today in a big way, especially in that first half. I mean, the second half, I think he scored 7 or so, but just the confidence he had to hit 6 shots in a row, the way he was knocking down 3-pointers, the way he was attacking.
And that ridiculous double clutch heave one too,
when he's playing like that, he's such a wild card out there. Opposing teams don't know what to do, especially a team like Charlotte. Charlotte's are you kidding me? No Jaylen, we're going to do our best against Tatum and this guy's killing us. It just seemed like the Hornets not only didn't have a response for him, but they were just man, he's got to cool off at some point. And then he didn't, going into halftime. And then that's when Tatum took over and just had the most the low key 41 piece I've ever seen. It's just, and that's what you do. That's what you're supposed to do coming off of the performance from 2 nights ago. That's what superstars do. That's what a team that's been the number 1 seed throughout the entire season, in the Eastern Conference. That's what you do against a team like the Hornets. So it's good. It's a good set. But I'm with you, John. I was assuming this would be one of those, the starters look on the entire fourth quarter, which wasn't the case. That lead was teetering between 10 and 15, and Mazzulla wasn't trusting it. So that's how it ended.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying that happened. And again, it's not the game story; it's just a story that was,
right.
That was kind of part of what happened here. Because I think that was the vibe, and a lot of people were saying it on Twitter that all right, let's and you saw in the third quarter, let's put this one away and give these guys a break, and they did.
Yeah,
in that quarter, and then they let it back. Now,
Rozier was fighting, man. I give him credit, man. He was Terry, absolutely not. We're not going out like this. So that was big.
You don't have to love Terry Rozier's game in the sense that, everything about it, but the guy friggin' just goes, man.
Hustles, man. Hustle. He will defend you full court if he has to, just to breathe some energy.
He's a dog, man.
And it wasn't working, but he kept fighting. Ball hit a 3. They got it down to about 10, and that was about it.
I legit also don't remember a single thing Gordon Hayward did. I literally don't remember.
He's just another wing now, man.
I don't remember even seeing him. I don't remember him. It didn't register to me. That he did anything. I mean, I know he had a couple of buckets, but I forgot he was alive. I'm not kidding.
He stacked up 6-7 assists, but yeah, it wasn't a lot, and it was interesting because he kept doing those. That Celtics fans will remember this. That like move where he goes one way, he flips it around, and he drives to the hoop. He kept doing that, or he goes the other way, the step back. Yeah.
Yes, and
I was like,
the half spin in the lane,
the half spin in the lane. He got one of those to go, and I was just like, he's still doing that, huh? Like
we love that though because we're like, look at the separation he creates, but like now he doesn't really do anything else.
Now that's all he does on the offensive end, and it's just, I mean, he got assists. I give him probably what he finished with. Yeah, 6 assists, a couple of steals, but yeah, he just looked like another wing, just another wing player trying to find his way.
Just a guy.
Just a guy, yeah.
We're talking about that blown lead. Again, Joe, he's a defensive cat, doesn't like being questioned, and did get asked about it from our guy, Gary Washburn of the A-List podcast.
There's a rivalry brewing between
that.
We'll talk more about that later, but
that is a real rivalry going on between Joe and Gary right now. Take a listen here. Take a listen.
Joel, is the eventual goal not to make things so tough on yourself with some of these games where you can take the 28-point lead and kind of cruise as opposed to having to work hard to maintain it? Or is that just something that you'll learn, or is that something you think you're getting better at?
So you're asking every time we have a big lead, it should always be bigger? The other team should never be allowed to come back? Is that what you're asking?
Well, it kind of happens where teams do make runs at you guys and big runs at times, and you had to put Tatum back in.
I didn't have to. I chose to.
You chose to.
Yes.
Yeah, you called a timeout to do it, right?
Well, it was our timeout in 11 seconds anyway, so there was going to be a timeout. It was our ball.
So
I'm just saying, if we have it at 22, the other teams are really good too. So there's going to be times where you're going to have to manage a run, and so I don't think the storyline is we got a lead and they got it down to 12. I don't think that's the storyline. The storyline is when we get a lead, we have to execute regardless, and the other teams are really, really good, and they're gonna make runs, and then we got to do our best to not help them make that run by turning the ball over, giving up offensive rebounds, and shooting fouls.
I don't know. He's just getting so defensive at this point.
He is, and I understand actually in this case, it's like, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want? Like, I get what he's saying, but he is really defensive and that stuff. It's fair. I honestly, I'm not playing both sides just to play both sides. I get it there. Like, yes, my plan is to blow leads and put the stars back in. Yes, that's what we're trying to do. Like,
yeah. I mean, the way Gary puts together his questions sometimes can be a little, but what Joe is doing though. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I don't like these types of questions, and if you keep doing it, you're going to keep getting these responses. And here we go again, especially after a win. Like, he's ready for that. He's more so ready for that in contrast to after a loss. Like,
there's two obvious things that Joe hasn't fully figured out. So one of them is the timeout, and one of them is the minutes. And so it stinks because you're right. You supposedly have a deeper team this year, and you have Tatum playing 2 minutes more per game than he played last year when he was dog friggin' tired by the end of the year. So you really want to try and avoid that. You can't in games like this. No. You can't normally now because Brown is out too, and you really don't have the wing depth, which is a problem. But what Gary's trying to say is like, you guys suck at holding on to leads. Like, why? Like,
yeah. I see. I took it that way, and I also took it as like, you really didn't trust that unit to take care of that lead. Like, you saw a 6-0, 7-0 run brewing,
and you're like, I'm afraid. Yeah.
If I wait too long, then it's gonna be a tie game within a couple of minutes. Yeah. Well, he's not gonna say that. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I get why Gary asked that question. But again, the way he frames it, sometimes Mazzulla is just like, oh, I can easily play the other side and be like, well, what do you expect me to do? And he's just been doing that in a big way. Yeah. Did you see the pregame presser?
No.
So, asking about an update about Jaylen,
I heard that he completely stonewalled everybody on Jaylen.
Well, the IG post we alluded to, and he goes, oh yeah, about his face, posted face. He goes, well, he posted on social media, and he goes, yeah. And then Mazzulla goes, well, what did the caption say? Which is said that he's getting fitted for a match. So that was his way of being like, well, there you go. There's your update. But it's just like, well, come on. Can we get some more context? Like, you're the head coach of the Celtics. We're thinking maybe you had a little nugget that wasn't on the caption of the dude's IG. You know what I mean? Like,
It is strange. Look, again, it's very Belichickian. But what's funny is,
it's right out the book.
But what's funny is like he's stonewalling people on stuff that doesn't need to be, and then like Brad comes out 5 minutes later, and they're like, "Can you give us an update on Jaylen?" Yeah,
everything.
Let me tell you everything. You know,
anybody who asks a question, you feel like you're having a one-on-one. Like he was so eloquent. Like I was telling Bobby, I was like, "Yo, I just had a flash, like a deja vu." I'm like, man, like that's what it used to be. Like that's right. Like you would get these full-hearted answers. Maybe it wasn't as revealing as you would like, but he would give you a little bit of something, you know. And then that's what I was gonna say. So at the end of it, Gary goes like, "Oh, so did you talk to him though?" He goes, "Did I talk to him?" He goes, "Yeah." Did he finally return your phone call? I thought that was a great line from Gary.
Oh, yeah.
And that even put a smile on Joe's face. He goes, yeah, I finally got in touch with him. Because obviously at the end of Wednesday night's game, he's like, "Oh, I called him, he didn't pick up." When we're asking for an update and no one knew anything about the guy's face, like he's taking it as if like we're asking if he called his brother or something. I don't know. It's weird. Like I get it. You don't want to reveal too much, but yeah, it's very Belichick and it's very like not sarcastic, but like I don't even know how to put it. Like snarly, I guess. I don't know. It's almost as if like I know what you're trying to ask me, but I'm not going to give you that satisfaction.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm not playing your little games. Right. That's fine. While we're on the topic of Jaylen, I think like it's probably the best case scenario update. It's a crappy fracture and one that could have been very, very bad because again, on the long end of these types of injuries, could be 6 weeks, 8 weeks. But the non-surgical option here is you get fitted for a mask and you just have to live with it. It can still mess with you a little bit. It really is a tough spot where it's just messing with your face and your eye. But it's really just uncomfortable at this point. And like the very fact that Jaylen hasn't been replaced on the All-Star team, I think he's playing in the friggin' All-Star game with a mask, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's what he wants to do. I really do. I think he wants to go because let's face it, he deserved to go last year. If he was healthy all year long, he would have been in there. And I think that's important to him. I think it's important in his process and him like I don't think he lacks self-confidence. I don't want to put it that way, but I think it's like a boost. You know what I mean? It's like, man, I need some of that. I need a quick boost to finish off the regular season and go into the postseason with the injuries and everything. I think he's going to try his best to at least go. Maybe he doesn't play, but maybe he's there. If he does play, I'm sure he's not going to play too many minutes. Cue up the why is he playing in the All-Star game debate if that happens. But I get it. I mean, it's been a couple of years. It would be nice for him to go back, especially because if he doesn't, it would be 3 years until his next one between his first All-Star appearance. I think that stuff matters to him.
Yeah, it clearly matters to him. And
but that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. Like if this is Tatum, maybe it's a little different. Maybe a little different.
Sit out the friggin' game, man.
But am I wrong though?
Your first game back from a broken face be an All-Star game. Just don't.
I hope that's not the case. But am I wrong though? If this was Tatum, we'd be like, come on, man. Like you're the face of the team. You're in the MVP conversation. Maybe not so much anymore. But with Jaylen, it's just like let him have this one. Like he's having a heck of a year. Every year he gets better and better, and he deserved to be an All-Star last year.
I don't care. He's walking into a boring controversy. It's just bad judgment to play in the All-Star game as your first.
Boston Radio's going to rip him,
when you're hurt. So you're walking into dumb shit, but so be it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Bobby's going to jump on in a little bit too. He was just in the locker room. One of the things that I neglected to mention off the top, which is certainly a major game story, is this dude.
The debut.
Muscala. He's so new. We still don't have a graphic of him not wearing a Thunder jersey. There he is. We don't have the green, but he plays because the Celtics have no bodies. They're down to 10 guys even with him. He gets in there. He comes in. He talks to the media beforehand. He plays and gave you legitimately every single thing you could have possibly wanted out of this player. And what's interesting. First assess his performance, and then I'm just going to I have a thought on the trade because some interesting stuff kind of came to light in an article from Bull Pet in terms of how the Celtics went about stuff at the trade deadline, which is definitely worth talking about.
I thought some of the stuff that Brad said was interesting too, but yeah, we'll get into that. But
I want to hear that too. So, but also talk about just his performance.
Yeah, for someone that's not easy, right? To join a team and just play right away. But he was offensively, I thought it was all instincts. He knew where to be in terms of getting that open look. I thought that being in the corner, those corner 3-point shots, that's something that's gonna really help this team, especially for the second unit. It's sort of like that Grant Williams touch. And then you look at what he was doing and banging down low, trying to grab rebounds and stuff. I mean, he looked good. Obviously, that's the kind of production these guys want when they need him to go in there and fill in for an Al or Rob Williams. And that doesn't mean he's going to play anywhere near 20 minutes. But I think this is the kind of performance that they were thinking is going to be easy. And for him, in terms of just getting in there, draining a couple 3-pointers. I think that's not always easy to find, especially when you're looking at from a stretch big. And what Brad Stevens had to say about him and who he is as a player in the locker room, like that was equally as important as what he does on the floor. So I thought that was interesting as well. Brad's like, it's not just about the stats; it's about who the guy is. And when you keep hearing the reputation of a player who's a really good guy, really good locker room guy, you see that pattern from other people. You start to really, you hold them to a higher standard, and that had a lot to do with why they went out and made that deal. So yeah, it was good. It's a great debut.
Unlike his dad, who might not be that good a guy. But let's bring in Bobby Manning. We were just talking a little bit about your boy Muscala. I think he just talked in the locker room here. I mean, we talked to him before the game also. But, how did it just your overall thoughts on like how well he integrated into action, like just like that?
Yeah, couldn't have gone better. Raining all those threes down throughout the night. The first one we had a pretty good look at in the right corner there, right over by us. And he's just waiting for Tatum to get into that crowd in the paint and fire it to him. And it drains it. Quick release, smooth shot, definitely a pure shooter, obviously given his success from deep during his career. And that's mostly all he brought offensively is that floor spacing. They're leaning deep into the 3-point shooting. They get back to that early season success from there tonight, generate a ton of great looks, and end up having a phenomenal offensive night all in and out. So that's the easy part for him. Defensively, I think there'll be some challenges. He played a much different style defensively in Oklahoma City, he said, and he's going to have to do some switching here. He's going to play the 4, which I don't think he's done much with Oklahoma City, but he said he's ready to, and Brad Stevens likes his ability to do more defensively, and they said he's capable of playing with Rob. He plays a ton with Blake tonight, and I think he can even play with Luke as well. It's good to hear that he's going to be a 4, because I think that was my first question when he arrived the other day is he just a 5 or can he play in some double big lineups?
No, that's what we had thought, more 4. And then, it was discussed after the fact that he really actually might just be that third big playing a classic 5 sort of role. But you can tell offensively exactly what the plan is. I mean, when he checked in, first trip down the court, he just runs right down and goes right into the corner, Yep. And so, I mean, that's it. It's just, okay, I'm just going to hang here. And if the ball comes my way, great. And it did. First shot he gets is a corner 3, a pretty quick release, and he rattled it home. He was kind of off and running from there.
Yeah, that's the identity of this team, that they're going to shoot a ton of open 3s, space the floor, and make things easier for Tatum, who's great tonight. How good did he look with White draining and Muscala in the corner and Hauser having another awesome game?
No one to keep him out of the paint, with Charlotte here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it makes sense that they'll have him at the 4 more often because he's not much of a pick and roll guy. You do want a roller out there like Rob, like Luke, who can play in the pick and roll good and pass it and move it. Even Blake's more of a screener and roller than Muscala is. So, looks like a good pickup. Again, not a guy you look at and say this guy can step in for Rob, certainly, or even Al. And you did have some reporting today that that's kind of what they were looking for at the deadline. As a guy who could step in there. And this guy's more of a complementary piece, not a guy who's necessarily going to replace anybody in case of injury, I think.
So I want to get in. Go ahead, Josue.
No, I was just going to piggyback on that. Like right before you hopped on, Bobby, I was just saying that. Like, it's not like, let's not get too crazy here. I don't think he's someone that's you want to go out and play 17, 20 minutes, but he can hold down the fort,
But that's the thing. And this is where I want to take this discussion next, because there's two ways to look at it. And Bobby and I were having these conversations heading into the deadline. Are you looking for insurance or are you looking for supplemental players? Muscala fits the supplemental. Like, had you traded for a wing, you'd be looking for a guy not to be insurance behind the Jays, because you can't insure them. One of them goes down, you're dead. You're looking for a guy to spell them some minutes. And if you went for a backup big, you're looking for a guy to eat some minutes there, or to be an injury replacement if somebody goes down. And it's interesting the direction that it went and the direction they were thinking about going based off of just kind of how they feel about the construct of their team. So Muscala fits in column A of like, he can play 10, 12, 15 minutes a game currently on this roster as constructed, give you minutes or spacing, knock down some shots, some second unit offense, and you're great. If you're fully healthy, nice complementary player. But if somebody goes down, that doesn't quite fit the bill. And I'm going to kind of talk about, the concern that I think we're having. And I think the Celtics might have had too, based on some reporting and just the way it appears things are going. But some good reporting today from Bullpet, Steve Bullpet on heavy.com. We'll get to that in a second. First off, quickly tell you about our sponsor here, HelloFresh.
I just got excited for that, and I'm on the show. Great team.
America's #1 meal kit. You should know about it by now. Go get yourself some HelloFresh. Bobby! Bobby just died.
I gotta go get him. Give me one second, Joe.
Boom. That's it.
It's like he just fell.
Like, it literally looked like he tipped over, right? Like, it's just timber.
You just hear me screaming, Bobby! Like running
Bobby,
no!
Bobby, no! Somebody tell Ahmed to go check out Bobby. Oh my God.
I think he just moved spots. It's getting a little loud out there. Like, I think almost half the court's already gone. They're not playing tonight. They're like, it's Friday night. This game's quick. Let's get the hell out of here. So they're making a lot of noise.
Oh, poor. Rest in peace, Bobby. 10:53 Friday night, February 10th. That's it. But he lived a fairly good life.
If he came back on and he had a mask on, I'd lose it. He gets Jaylen's mask.
It's like The Last of Us. Like, there's spores everywhere and friggin'
right.
There's like tentacles in the press room. Bobby's just getting the hell out of there. Just hell broke loose.
He didn't tell anybody. He just grabbed his stuff and got the heck out.
Yeah, good. Oh, we gotta go. So my camera's blurry now. Hold on. I'm gonna disappear for 2 seconds
because I was mad at you for what
my
you just
stunt
did.
Because of my stunt. Hold on.
Yeah. Now I'm solo. The Josue Show. Oh man.
Let's talk quickly about HelloFresh. Go get yourself some HelloFresh. Really great sponsor. Josue, check out his Instagram. He did some cooking on there. Good stuff. And again, you should know about it by now. And there's a lot of meal kits out there. We like HelloFresh ourselves because it's so customizable. It's so easy. You can take a lane in a direction you want to go, and then from there really fine tune it. But it gives you so many creative options when you're definitely sick of kind of the same menu items over and over again. Farm fresh ingredients, restaurant quality style recipes. Make the kind of stuff at home you probably wouldn't make on your own because it just takes too much time. Instead of the same boring grilled chicken or whatever it is that you're making every single day, you'll end up with something that's fun and creative and you get some variety in your life, which is awesome. So check it out. HelloFresh.com/garden65. If you go to that URL and use that code garden65, you get 65% off the whole deal. And free shipping, which is really cool. Once again, HelloFresh.com/garden65 and use the code garden65 for 65% off. And phenomenal t-shirt. Nick Gelso was in the chat in our last post-game show trying to assure the angry mob that, in fact, that t-shirt is coming. We had to order a second wave and a second batch because we were overwhelmed. So many of you supporting our sponsors. We do appreciate that. Whether you do that or Athletic Greens or any of the other sponsors on our show, if you support that, we're more than happy to send you that t-shirt.
I think he's in here tonight. I thought I just saw his name. What up, Nick?
Is he? On top of that, when we do send you this shirt, if wear it out and then tell people about us. Take it to the Garden. I wore mine on night one. The first night I got the T-shirt, that was my Nuggets game when I geeked out. I was a full fan.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, good. Yeah, great seats too.
That was great seats. Anyway, so let's talk quickly about. Hold on one second. Let's talk quickly about the kind of direction here. And here comes Bobby again. I hope he's all right. He's gonna come back all bloody.
You got an eye patch.
All right, well, I'll hold off on this one until I see if Bobby's gonna jump in here when his camera comes on. But the story, which I've been kind of hinting at for a little bit, was about basically the Celtics' approach at the deadline. How we had thought, Josue, the Jakob Poeltl conversations were, I'll only go as far as I'll go, which will be Gallinari, Pritchard, and in the 3 seconds or whatever it is I can give you. But it sounds like they were willing to give their first. The problem is their firsts suck, and Toronto
and they know that. Or San Antonio knows, rather.
Yeah, San Antonio knows, and Toronto's is better. So even the Celtics' best offer wasn't enough to get them a 1-year rental in Jakob Poeltl. And apparently the reason, according to the article, that they were super interested in it was driven by concern over Rob Williams' health. Generally concerned, again, that's the feeling around the organization. And then a rival GM quoted in the piece also said that I don't think they can expect to have a healthy Rob all the way through the season and throughout the playoffs, and they're worried about it. And that GM also pointed out something we've talked about before. Since their 21-5 start, they look good, not great. They're not the same team. They're not since that start. They're not the same dominant team, and also acknowledge that they haven't been whole. But the concern over Rob is an issue, and they went hard at Poeltl here. And I got to tell you, I mean, this was my number one takeaway tonight. Like, Derrick White was awesome. Jason Tatum had a Jason Tatum game, but my number one takeaway was, I don't know what the hell Rob's doing out there. And it started, looked lost, but looked like he's avoiding stuff. And again, I just think he's lost all lift right now. The thing that freaked me out the most was right off the gate there when he gets that little rebound and he tries that floater offensive putback instead of jumping up to dunk it.
You know what? He did it again. Yeah.
He did it again. This cute little stuff around the rim instead of like what you're supposed to do, which is get it and just friggin' yam it, get up quick and go. He can't. I don't think he can't. He can't do it right now. Especially coming off. He's blocking some shots, but not consistently. He's just not. Right. He's not doing it. He's not a presence in there. He's letting people get to the rim without challenging at all. Sometimes it's kind of. I know he had 16 rebounds. Come on, guys. It doesn't matter. That's not the point. No. Like, he had a ton of them were on taps and stuff too. Like, Charlotte has no interior. Rob should have been able to feast tonight and been able to go up there and get some lobs.
Yeah, like PJ Washington on like
something's off right now. Something's off.
No, I agree, especially because he just looks unsure of himself when he gets the ball in the paint. He's no longer turning his back and looking for a pass, but like you said, he's trying to find other ways to score, but without dunking or making a move, and that's a concern. That points to a health thing, or he's not quite there in sense of having that confidence because there's something holding him back. And I do think it's a health thing. I don't know if it's a mental thing. I mean, we always say how Rob has to ramp himself up a bit and after missing all that time, but this has been a while now and it hasn't been very consistent or as much as we would like, but having those 4 days off, I thought would help him going into this one, going up against the Hornets. And he looked more the same than what we've seen. Just kind of lost on offense, trying to pick his spots in terms of obviously coming up with defensive stops. But even tonight, he looked like he was a step behind.
He was and off, and his hands were bad and everything. But
what was up with those passes? Like, whoa, like completely off the mark. And
And again, I get it. Like, if I'm starting to worry or freak a little bit on Rob, that's, I'm not saying like I'm the deciding factor here, but like I'm willing to give him a lot of rope and the benefit of the doubt on a lot of stuff. And I'm officially a little bit Like, I'm losing some patience. I'm a little bit concerned. I don't know what's going on with the guy.
Are you losing patience in him overall? Or are you just going to say this is that year where we're just like, man, Rob just didn't have anything?
I'm losing patience in some things, like late in the fourth quarter, late in the game, he got a ball, and again, he's a little bit out of his range, but there's 6 seconds on the clock. He really had no choice but to shoot it. But again, because he'll never consider shooting, he turns around and passes it to a covered Derrick White behind the three-point line, who had no chance of getting a shot off. Yeah. Like, stuff like that is just bad basketball. And, like, you know, not looking for the offense. One is a mentality thing, but I think part of that has to do with the physical, which right now looks off as well. He just looked completely off right now. Anyway, Bobby, what's going on? We're talking about the Heavy report about how their interest in Poeltl might have been buoyed by concerns over Rob.
Yeah,
and he just looked awful tonight, I thought.
Of course. How could you look at it any other way? You wouldn't be looking for a starting level guy if you felt great about the guys in place, staying healthy, being available and consistent into the playoffs. Now, tonight was an off night, obviously, for him. I haven't seen a night like this from him yet. I think he's been steadier. I think he's had great nights too.
He's been steadier in the sense that, like, there's some good, some not good, but he's made impacts most games. This was one where he seemed off all night. You're right.
Yeah, for sure. So I agree. I wish they got something like that Poeltl thing done. I'm going to keep saying that because I think it's important. I think the price, it's tough to match, obviously. That was in the bullpen report, too, that Celtics couldn't muster a pick that stacked up against Toronto's. I don't know how much value the Spurs saw in amending 2028, which would have been my route, the 28-28 pick that the Celtics owe them. But you have to be worried about Rob's continued brushing up with injuries. He obviously just came off an ankle injury. That could have been part of it as well. He was probable coming into tonight with that. Missed a couple games recently. So I'd imagine that's where you look in terms of why he played the way he did tonight. And like I said, Muscala, not quite a replacement for Rob if it comes to that. You can't see him stepping in there and giving you what Rob gives you right now. Certainly no one can, but you would have liked to have had someone in that position who's a little more prepared to emulate the way he plays. Because we've talked about the defensive coverages too. Like, those are going to be so important if you're going into your second unit bigs, if you're going into your depth reserves there. So we'll see how Muscala adapts to that. I think there's potential for him on that end. I liked a lot of the things I saw from him tonight. But again, like Rob, it's tough to emulate Rob if he does go down, even if he did go get it.
You're not emulating Rob. You're playing a different style of basketball. But the problem is peak Rob takes you to a level that puts you in a stratosphere almost by yourself in the East. I know I'm almost at the point where I just don't know that you can make a calculus on how the Celtics are going to finish off this year and factor in Rob into that equation. Like, I'm not ruling him out. I might be close to ruling out, like, freak pre-injury Rob as being a person who's going to exist this year for this team, whether he's on the court or not. So this, like, wait till Rob returns, we're going to be invincible mentality that people had. I mean, Bobby, I'm going to say it right now. I was happy when Cornette was in the game tonight. Like, I really was. I was like, I didn't want this. I didn't want this Rob out there. I didn't want him out there.
That's quite the development.
Yeah. I'm serious. Because you said, Josue, in the chat, he looks lost too. Yeah. And I don't know if he's hiding because because he knows physically he's not right, so mentally he's struggling as well. He looked like he was. Ben Simmons won't shoot. Rob Williams looks like he's standing places where he's not going to get involved, both offensively and even in a position to attack for rebounds. He's almost running away from stuff. He looked so just discombobulated tonight. It was just bizarre.
Yeah, still stacks up 16 boards, though, even on an off night. So he's still going to be out there grabbing those at the very least and making an impact in that area of the game. But the 4 fouls is what you worry about, especially when you talk about positioning, John. There was he
sucked on defense. He sucked.
Yeah, see, cleaning the glass is like the 6th thing that John likes the most about. about Rob.
Look, there's rebounds and there's rebounds. When you're like, Rob's really good at keeping the ball active. How many of those rebounds were tips, though? He's got quick hands and good instincts, but he's not getting up and friggin' snatching them right now. A lot of them were like tips to other people and stuff like that. I don't know if he's getting credit for those. Is that a scorekeeper thing?
Yeah. I think also what you're looking at there is the athleticism of the guy in front of him, 7'1" Mark Williams, who has the same kind of leaping ability and
way better. Yeah.
So got a heck of a wingspan.
He swallowed up one of those early layups that Rob tried to put up, and I think he got blocked 2 more times.
But it was this really cutesy, didn't get off the ground floater layup a foot from the basket. That's not a Rob Williams. Rob Williams dunks that. He was like. He was shooting that like he's Pritchard, trying to float it over a big guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he got one of them to go, but it wasn't pretty.
What concerns you most, John, that he's at a level below where he was before the surgery?
Miles below physically.
That's evident. I think the question is, can he get back to being that guy this season? But we're not getting ahead of ourselves. We're just talking about this season. What do you think?
But this is another one, actually. Dave's trying to make a point why we're overreacting, and I will actually say physically Rob wasn't there in the finals either and was way more impactful than he's been, still. So something's off completely with him. Like, even his good games, I don't know. I mean, this one worried me the most.
Yeah, and the numbers are down.
Just the way he looks. Even the good games, I'm like, the numbers, there were some numbers there, and his on-off numbers were good too. And he does impact the game still because he is still a freak, but it's not the same. Something. You know it when you see it. Remember last year, we start the year and we're saying first month or so, like, Rob's not jumping. He wasn't doing it in the preseason, wasn't doing it the first month of the season. The entire chat's freaking out. Dude, what are you talking about? He jumped that time. And then 2 months later, he starts friggin' flying out of the building, and there's a noticeable difference. And instead of people saying, oh, yeah, that's much better than it was before, everyone starts saying, see? Like, just because it happens when it happens eventually, that highlights the fact that it wasn't happening earlier. We've lived through full Rob before. You've seen it. You should know the difference by now. This is miles from it.
Yeah, and in the new year, 76%. 8 rebounds, which is a little down from what you expect from him at this point. About a block. You probably want 2 blocks from him. 8 points. You could use more than that from him, I'd say. So everything's a little bit down. He has those big games, 15-15 against Detroit, 11-8 against Miami was good, 12 rebounds against the Knicks with a block, or 3 blocks rather against the Heat there, 2 blocks. So he's mixed in some good games. I like them in the Suns game. There's a lot of great games from him that I really like. He recently
did have a good game. This could just be simply the ankle's not even close to right, and he forced his way in to play because they had no bodies. Again, they literally would have suited up 9 guys with Horford out again. So he might have played like on a really, really off.
Well, he missed the Lakers game and then came back for 3 games and then missed Philadelphia. So it's the same injury. Sure, it's bothering him. Probably some good days, some bad days. This just looked like a bad day to me from him. And I hear you, John, on all the stuff we've seen from him overall since he's been back. I don't think it's quite the same level, but we're also talking about 21 games now since he's been back. It's not a huge amount. So I think overall, like, I looked at him this season and said, this is just going to be a lost year from him. Surgery, comeback, see how he looks.
No offseason to work on anything. Never gotten fully conditioned.
I pictured a scenario where Rob came back and didn't look right at all and was just a complete shell of himself. And I don't think we've seen that. Like, there's been some really good nights there and flashes that look like the old Rob. So I'm not panicking yet. I do see it on the bad nights like you do, John. But the concern is that Horford's hurt now too. He's got that knee swelling, and doesn't seem like that went down over the last couple of days. Has to miss another game tonight. He looked like he was walking around fine tonight, but playing is a different story. Did you put too much pressure on him while Rob was out? And certainly while Rob's been limited with minutes and missed other games with injuries, like, those two were just sort of spelling each other throughout the whole first half. And Horford, of course, spelled Rob for the entire first quarter plus of the season. They got to figure out ways to get these guys right, healthy, and in the best shape they can be for the playoffs. And you're doing that with Tatum now. Tatum said he's going to take a game off next week. Jaylen, stinks to see him hurt physically and maybe have some vision problems or whatever comes with that broken face that he's dealing with. The only thing that can stop this team is health, I think. If they're fully healthy, they're the best team by far. And they're just dealing with a lot of stuff right now. Smart in the ankle got back on the court today and tested that out. And he's still dealing with some of the pain. And Brad actually said he re-aggravated that injury in the fall. So it looks like this is actually the third time he's hurt that ankle since the initial injury in the East Finals. So they're dealing with a lot right now. And like you said, John, it's tough for these guys to take nights off when so many other guys are out. I mean, Tatum almost missed tonight's game with an illness. He was battling pretty heavily, Brad said, coming into today. So tough. Hope Muscala can help out in that sense.
Again, you're right. I mean, fully healthy, you can see the East. It's, the middling teams didn't help themselves at the deadline. And Brooklyn, who was one of the top 4, has crashed and burned. So you're really looking at 2 team, it's a 3-horse race at this point. And you just saw what they did against. I mean, I'm still putting Philly in there, even though I'm putting them in there just because I'm not going to base it entirely off of that one game. But if you're Philly, I don't think you feel super confident that you're beating the Celtics.
Embiid's foot scares you.
Everything about Philly scare. I'm not. If I'm a Philly fan, I'm not confident. I'm just putting them in that group because they're the only ones else I think who can possibly kind of enter the competition.
They have an MVP candidate. That's fair.
It's possible, and still Harden, but it's probably a 2-horse race. I'm letting Philly kind of still hang in there, and that's it. I would have put Brooklyn ahead of Philly if they didn't implode the way they did. And Philly's a generous add to the big 3, but again, no one else helped themselves.
Is Cleveland still scary because they didn't do anything either?
They didn't do anything. They're scary only because they've beaten you and you haven't proven.
They match up toughest with you of anyone.
And the length throws you off like crazy.
Yeah.
Right. Matchup wise, you feel you're going to beat the Sixers every time, even though they might be an overall better team than it's a matchup thing. Philly might be there in the end, but they're not great. The Celtics can handle that matchup. You're right. I don't know if Cleveland makes it to get to a point wherever, but
size and athleticism bothers them.
Cleveland might be scary for the Celtics in a head-to-head, but I don't think they're a contender.
Yeah, you forgot about Cleveland.
Who's giving them the most trouble this year? The Magic, the Raptors, the Cavs, and the Bulls. Yep. A mix of size and athleticism, and certainly mid-range shot making as well as a factor there too. Teams that can do that hurt them, and I'm interested to see the Philly matchup again later this month. I think there's a chance they just overlooked you and completely blew that game off and then got surprised by how much resistance they received, especially once Jaylen went down and Brogdon started in the second half there. It's 4 starters out. So that's possible that Philly just sort of snoozed into that game. Next game's going to be on their home court. I respect them, but it's hard to believe in a team where Embiid's always hurt, and he's hurt right now, and Harden probably has the worst playoff resume of any guy who's going to go into the Hall of Fame at his level. So it's tough to trust them, but they would be a tough matchup. I wouldn't overlook them completely. They got a good team, and they added to it the deadline with Jalen McDaniels, a guy who I like, and that's about all they did, right?
I mean, what's McDaniels doing? I mean, you swap out Tybal for McDaniels, who's kind of a long-armed kind of wing, not a terrific scorer. That was more like a tax move than it was an improve the team move.
Could be, yeah.
He looked. He had a run like a couple weeks ago of I want to say 4 or 5 games straight where he was just almost 20 plus, filling up the stat sheet. So that made things easier. You know what I mean? People were like, oh, well, maybe we got something here, and he still has a ceiling. So
yeah.
Once again, you can't say anyone's going to beat the Celtics, so the chat's going to freak out. There are teams out there that give them tough times. Not the Hornets.
The Bucks aren't playing.
Not every opponent's the Hornets. You got teams with size, athleticism. Look at the Thunder, what they did to you, scoring 150. These teams with athleticism, size, and defensive versatility to guard the paint can really give you issues. Throw the Warriors in there too, John. Certainly. And the Lakers, 100%.
100%.
Gave you issues.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it. A couple other things we talked about, and again, matchups matter, and you're right. Cleveland is a weird matchup for them, but in terms of the East, the Celtics with health, I mean, again,
Yeah,
I've been
they're
saying
my
most
team.
of the, even though they're not playing great, I did say, I still do believe the season for them really starts game 1 of the conference finals, and like almost nothing before then really matters. But, a lot of shit can happen along the way before you get there, but it still would be, shocking to see them not play, at least in the conference finals this season based on, what they have in the rest of the East right now.
Yeah, for sure. Who scares you most after the deadline? Is it still Milwaukee?
Definitely.
And they just got Jay. He's gonna cause
Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton looked good last night against the Lakers.
He's an interesting one too. You never know which way that's going to go.
Right.
Bobby, were you in on Tatum?
That series is gonna happen. Eastern Conference Finals.
I guess the most interesting thing he talked about was that collision with Jaylen Brown.
So I have that. I'm going to play that in a second. I was going to say I didn't know if you were there or not. I'm gonna tee that up because
Gary asked Joe before the game too, and Joe didn't like it. Of course.
Joe and I Josue and I are talking about it. There's a real rivalry going on here right now.
Yeah.
Joe walked off
when there's some furniture moving and I got to hold Gary back with like 4 other people, we're gonna know it's real. It was real.
Yeah. Here, you guys hold. I'm gonna come back in a second. Hold it down for 2 minutes. I'll be right back. And then I'm gonna queue up that Tatum bite.
Yeah. So let's set it up, Josue. What was the question Gary asked about Jason's reaction and?
Yeah.
I guess the aftermath of how they talked afterward.
Wait, you're talking about when he was asking about an update about Jaylen?
Yeah, how Jason reacted to colliding with him and how he followed up on it.
Well, the whole IG part is what threw me off when he was like, "Well, what did his caption say?"
Like, yeah, I think that was a different one, but he
that was a different one, right?
He got asked what Jason's reaction was after, because in the moment you see.
Oh, that's right. He
complains to the ref, doesn't really look down, doesn't try to help him up or anything like that. And John brought it up on the show here. I thought it was weird. I saw some other people talking about it too.
I thought it was a little weird. And
I think Gary was asking, did he console him? Did he apologize?
He even said something like they like each other, they're friends, something like that. I was just like, wait, what? Like,
yeah, Joe said that. They're close, they're friends.
They're close. Yeah.
Weird answer, but John's going to play it right now. Looks like he's back.
Yeah, it's also a very defensive answer. Like, hey, what happened with the injury? They like each other, okay? Like,
yeah, seriously. Hey. Yeah. I'm like, am I talking to one of our viewers? Like, geez. It's like when I bring up the fact that these two don't even make eye contact throughout.
They're both going to re-sign here forever. Yeah, look, I mean.
Josue, you're the problem. You want to see the Jays fight. Right? He sounded like one of those guys.
One of my Twitter followers said, I swear to God, I want to see Tatum and Brown leave, just because of guys like you who say blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I'm like, there it is. That makes you a real fan. You actually want the best players to leave just to spite people who say, like, they got a weird relationship, huh?
Which is all we're saying, actually. Which is all
we're saying. They may play the rest of their lives together and just have a weird relationship. But
they make it sound like we're doing like false reports, being like, it looked like Tatum and Brown got into it tonight. I don't know. Like, I think they need to be separate. Like that's different. Like we were doing that. Like,
but a lot of people, look, your regular fan too was even like the biggest Tatum and Brown backers were kind of like why didn't he like try to help him or show any concern? So now this is Tatum talking about how he felt about breaking Jaylen Brown's face.
I feel like I need to buy him a car or something. It's the first time all season me and him both crashed from the corner and I end up elbowing him in the face. So I obviously feel terrible, the freak accident, but whether it's a mask or buying him a car, I think I got it.
Mask or a car?
Something safe.
Jason Tatum, he's just like you and me, right? He screws up and he buys somebody a car, you know?
What a guy.
Just like you and me.
Right. It was a strange situation, but we've seen stuff like that, John. I remember there was a play last year where Romeo got like elbowed in the face or something and fell to the floor, and he's just laying there, and the whole bench is watching. No one runs out to check on him. Everyone's just running the other way in transition. I think there's a sense in this league, you know how it is. Guys go down, they're looking for calls. They're just, all you need to do is just make contact with the guy, and they're going to fly to the floor and stay down and try to get that breath. So you saw Tatum complaining about the call in that moment, and he probably just thought Brown went down with some contact that happens on every play and was just going to get right back up because guys always do. And he didn't, unfortunately. Well, he did, and then ran away with the broken face. So.
This is a good point. You wouldn't buy somebody you hate a car, so there's that.
Yeah, that's a good sign. Probably bring them closer together, right?
That is strange. I don't know, man. They're both kind of strange dudes.
But why can't Celtics fans?
Right, I reacted more to Bobby. I reacted more to Bobby going down. Right.
Like what's wrong with saying they're not close? Like Celtics fans won't even say that. Like, no, they're best friends, guys. You guys are making this up. It's like, really? What makes you think that? Like, what gives you any type of sign that that's the case? But
yeah, I think it's kind of a silly story. It was weird, but I think there's a lot of ways you could explain it.
Yeah, they hate each other.
I guess that's one.
I don't think they hate each other. That's a difference. That's a big difference. I don't think that's the case.
It's not. That's not what happened. I think Tatum was like, I don't think I'll say this. Jaylen's a bit of a soccer player too. Count the times Jaylen Brown has gotten nicked or hit in the face and gone down and done this. Yeah. 2 hands on his face on the ground like 20 times this year. I think that's what he thought happened here. Oftentimes it's to draw a call or something. I just don't think he thought he hit him that hard. I thought he just thought it was like, oh, there's Jaylen kind of, Jaylen's down,
He probably didn't. He hit him just right.
Yeah.
Probably with the spot and with what he hit him with, an elbow, I'd imagine. So the injury sounded terrible, John. You sent the information earlier on the outlook for it, sports injury doc as well.
That's only if you had the surgery. And apparently, if you got to go in there and have the surgery, it's screws, plates, your face is all screwed up.
Yeah, so that's why I asked Brad pregame. Of course, Joe didn't answer, but Brad said no surgery. They've settled that, and now he's just going to see how he feels over the next couple of days. And as Josue and I talked about in our report pregame on Celtics All Access, the fact that they haven't named a replacement for him in the All-Star break probably
John said that too. Yeah.
Probably lends some hope that he's going to try to play in that game.
Yeah, and that's going to go. I don't.
Shoot up Boston radio right after the Super Bowl.
I don't give a crap, but don't be dumb. Like your first game back from a broken face shouldn't be the All-Star game. That's all I'm saying.
Why not try out the mask?
Yeah.
That's going to be the most difficult part. Yeah. If he didn't need surgery, John, and he's going to be back in 4 games or 11 days like that information, I think I wish I remembered the Twitter handles names, but 4 games, 11 days is kind of the outlook for this without surgery. And that's probably in line with the All-Star break. So why not come back and play 10, 15 minutes in that game to test out the mask and see how it feels and get some shots up with it.
I don't care.
Running who out of town? 2 guys on max deals. Okay.
I love that crap. I don't care at all. All I'm saying is optics. Wow. I don't care at all. It doesn't.
It's not like there's a lot of physicality and intensity in the All-Star game.
It's a non-story. I don't care. I mean,
it's an exhibition against the best players in the league. That's a great way to tune up or try out the mask and try to get used to it.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Bobby.
Yeah, you hope.
My whole thing is, Bobby, before you hopped on, my whole thing is, I get it if you're Jaylen Brown, you want to do that because you didn't play in it last year. It's been a while, it's been a couple of years, and it's going to be, if you don't play it, it's going to be 3 years next year when he's selected again. So I just think, again, it's like that little boost that he might just need for himself. Just interacting with other all-stars. Obviously the Celtics have been holding down the number 1 spot in the East, and everyone knows it. So that you can kind of flex a bit. You can kind of talk your shit. Be in the locker room, being like, that's good. I like that for Jaylen, especially around the best players in the league.
Is everyone like I know we spend most of our time watching the Celtics or scrutinizing them closely. We watch plenty of other basketball too, but in terms of knowing the personalities and the people on the team, are the Celtics weirder than most teams? Like it's just in terms of vibes, I don't know.
I think there's weird situations on every team. I mean,
there's toxic situations. I think the Celtics are not at all toxic. I actually think they get along.
Buddy, yeah.
It's a good group in that sense. It's just their affect is a little bit weird, and I think that's what some people are reading with some of that stuff. I actually think they're behind the scenes. They're in a pretty good place right now. I mean, they're in a really good place right now. So that's not a concern at all. There's no chemistry issues. They just don't hang out after games. That's literally all Josue is saying.
And that's you go in any visiting locker room before games here, and not many teammates are chilling and talking to each other. Everyone's kind of doing their own thing, or in the gym working out, or listening to music in their lockers. The Celtics locker room is actually pretty fun to be in. A lot of talking, a lot of debating.
But Bobby, you would have been shocked if you saw Jaylen at that Jack Harlow show with Pritchard and Blake and Tatum. Like
they're different. There's no doubt about it, and they've admitted it as such. But
I'd be shocked.
There's no rift, especially now. I mean, that might have been in the past.
There's no rift. There's never been a rift. They're just not boys.
They're just not boys. Exactly.
They're just not boys. That's it. There's nothing to it. There's nothing to it. There's never been a rift.
They're co-workers.
They're co-workers. There's never been a rift. It's the dumbest thing ever.
And they said, I forget which one said it. I think it was Jaylen it actually was Tatum. Yeah. That all the talk of breaking them up that year and everything that went into that actually made them address it, which was a good thing.
Uncomfortable conversations, Josue's catchphrase. Yeah.
Someone just said Gen Zs are introverted.
Yeah, weird.
That's true.
Is that true, Bob? I was going to say, is that true?
Luke was talking to Grant pregame. He was like, Grant, and Grant had the head in the phone.
Yeah. Yeah. Real quick, we're gonna talk a little bit more before we wrap it up. Just tell you quickly about Athletic Greens as well. Another sponsor here on the Garden Report. You guys know all about it. If you haven't tried it out, give it a shot. If you're new to the Garden Report and you haven't heard me do my spiel, great supplement here. If you want to go take care of all of those things that you're probably chasing by getting a bunch of different pills and vitamins. That's recovery, focus, mental clarity, gut health, boost your immune system, all of that stuff. It's all there in just kind of one shot, 75 vitamins, minerals, probiotics, and come on, Bobby.
Adaptogens. Got you.
Cup of water and you're done. That's all you need to do. Takes care of all your health needs. Fits into any sort of diet that you might be on right now. It's a great thing to kind of pair with any sort of New Year's resolution diets that you're on, and a good way to start your day and give you all of those other things that you need that can really help you get your body right. So go check it out. athleticgreens.com/garden free. 1 year supply vitamin D, 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Once again, athleticgreens.com/garden. 1 year supply vitamin D, 5 free travel packs, and anyone who supports one of the sponsors here on the Garden Report gets themselves a t-shirt. Fill out the form in the description of the show, and we will send it on to you. Or you can DM me, and I will give you instructions on what it is that you need to do. Guys, any other thoughts on what's going on right now with this game and this team? Go ahead, Bobby.
Did you give Derrick White his apology camp finally on the 1 year anniversary of the trade that you didn't love? Today's the 1 year anniversary of the Celtics trading Richardson, Romeo Langford, 2 future first round picks for Derrick White. A deal that I couldn't believe immediately. We talked last year so much about how they had nothing to offer. They couldn't get anyone. Probably just going to have to do a small Schroeder sale and let that be it. They went out and got Derrick White, and 1 year later, he drops 33, 26 in the first half, 7 of 8 start from 3, keeps bumping up that 3-point percentage this year beyond all the other things he does. And you haven't really thought all that much about Marcus Smart being up because of how good he steps into it.
Sure you have, because the Celtics offense, for the most part, has been pretty freaking bad. since Marcus went out. But White, again, is not the guy to be the alpha, not the guy to run their offense. He's the guy who's got to be getting opportunistic buckets, who's got to take those threes because he's going to be left open. And ultimately, when he knocks them down, he's that much more effective because the defenses are always going to play the ball into his hands when Tatum and Brown are both out there. He's a guy, he's got to take advantage of opportunities when he's getting into the paint and get that floater game going. And when those shots fall, Bobby, they're great. But when they don't fall, like they didn't for a very long stretch of time to start his career.
You just got here.
I understand it, but he was really rough to look at, last year because he was struggling so badly. He got in his own head, and then he was afraid to shoot, and he was afraid to contribute. He's not Marcus in terms of being able to run this first unit offense, but I said it last game, and I'll say it again. I love that he almost always does the right thing. He makes the right decision, the right read. He's in the right place. He's a really cerebral player. He's a terrific team defender. He's just crafty, sneaky, smart. He moves the ball always. So he just does so many things well and so many things for you that, yes, you're always going to want a guy on your team who does those sorts of things. So I'm not looking at a night where he hits 8 threes and be like, yup, there it is. Because if he goes 1 for 10 tomorrow, we're not going to say that the trade sucked, are we?
Right.
No, but
so,
his season.
I'm impressed by him. I tweeted it the other day. I was like, I'm starting to like this guy. And again, it's all.
And when do you have 3
stuff.
blocks tonight?
It's crazy. So the crazy stat here was the one that whatever this is, first player in NBA history. It's kind of obscure to make 8 3-pointers, have 10 assists and 3 blocks in a game. First player in NBA history to have that line. That's pretty impressive, honestly.
Because usually it's only big men blocking 3 shots, but he keeps racking up those.
Yeah, what a flex! Yeah, he's turning into that go-to guard for stacking up blocks, man. And when people least expect it, like he's chasing guys down, like that thing is really, that part of his game is really catching teams off guard.
And with Smart, what's interesting too with the Celtics, with Smart missing time this year, and Rob, not being himself. If there's a defensive, if there's an all defensive candidate on this team, it's going to be White, and I think White's going to get a lot of love because the blocks are a little sexy for a guard.
I thought he was in there last year too. Great defensive stretch with them after they traded for him last year too. He's incredible on that end. And my favorite piece I've written this year probably was about his journey and coming to Boston, the issues because you kept hearing about how uncomfortable and unnatural it was for him here last year and how much that trade affected him. But, going back to his Colorado days as well, when he was with UCCS at D2 level, the things that the coach of Colorado, who was bringing him up for that 1 year at D1, heard from the coaches around Colorado is that this was the best shot blocking guard they had ever seen, the people who talked to him. And he's brought that to the NBA level, too. It's unbelievable. I mean, he won that Philly game late with the chase down block on Tobias Harris. Just a critical play. He keeps making them. It's getting better with each passing week, it feels like. Like, we knew he had it in him, and now he just keeps getting more and more each game and recording more important ones. It's like he's fully comfortable now at this point. He knows where he needs to be in this defense. He gets all the switching right. And then offensively, you love when he's put in positions to be aggressive, which is exactly where he is when he starts. And I love him with the starters. Josue and I just talked about this in our walk-off. He's been so good with the starters. It almost makes me think about going away from double big. Not quite, but you wish you could find a way to start him.
I'm going away from double big because both of them are broken right now. And you got to limit some minutes, and you didn't go get a third insurance big, so I'm doing it. But the guy's a basketball player, and I liked it. But look what happened early when they had that lineup that was Horford, White, Smart, and Jason and Brown and Tatum. Their defense was terrible, and they were switching those lineups, putting Grant in the starting lineup in place of White to improve their defense. So they were getting picked on in that lineup. So while it looks good on paper, because that's probably your 5 best all-around basketball players, actually Brogdon as well, but you're keeping Brogdon in that second unit because he's got to drive the offense there because he's terrific. He's their best ISO player right now all around, but he's a guy who gets buckets on his own. So he's not leaving that second unit because they need him for the buckets. But otherwise, those 5 make sense, but it didn't work great all the time. And certainly defensively, Joe didn't love it. So I don't see them going to that lineup. I like it, but I don't see them going to it.
No, Joe likes double big, and you have to think that's the reason they got another big is because they're going to play a ton of them together. I think Steven said as much down the stretch. They want to play big. Seems like their best lineup. He loves the stats on the double big lineup, particularly on offense. So they're going to roll with that. You just hope he can find that spot to get the ball and do a lot with it on the second unit. I mean, you say he's not as good of a creator, John. 10 assists. He's done this a handful of times. Big assist.
It's
games.
not that. It's their offense clearly hasn't been running the same since Smart's been out. I'm not saying he's not good. He's not the guy with the ball in his hands all the time and settling things down. But he's excellent.
When he does, he looks great.
He's an excellent passer, and like I said, he moves it fast. Ball doesn't stick to him.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite Celtics ever. I love his game. I always loved it in San Antonio, too. He would give the Celtics fits. He had that monster series against the Nuggets early in his career going to the playoffs.
Are you talking Derrick White?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he's rising up there.
I thought you said one of your favorite Celtics ever. I just want to make sure. All right.
Yeah. Dirk, can they win the title? I mean, yeah. They're clearly the favorites, even with, Phoenix kind of, getting all Durant-y right now.
Don't sleep on Denver. I mean, they're up there. Just off that trade alone.
Oh, one little move or one little piece of news that I think is slightly relevant there.
The four-way trade might blow up.
Yeah, I thought that might have been that infusion the Warriors needed to come back to life, but it doesn't look like Gary Payton's going to be able to play for the Warriors anytime soon if he does go there at all at this point. So another massive blow to them beyond Curry's injury, which is a really complicated, weird one as well. How long does it look like he's going to miss, John?
Who?
Curry.
They're not sure.
Yeah. It was a weird injury.
Yeah. They're not sure. He's like tearing ligaments in his ankle. Like, it's not great. Or in his leg.
I think it's a tibia.
Yeah,
ligament.
It's around the leg, around the ankle. Not technically ankle, but it's like weird. So who knows, man? They could be sunk right now if he doesn't come back right.
I think it's the tib fib.
Tom Tibia.
Tom Tibia, yeah.
Yeah.
Only other news from tonight. Woj reporting the Celtics might get Danny Green if he's bought out. You guys interested?
Yeah.
Take some of that.
Good veteran piece.
Well, I mean, the thing with Danny Green, what you're looking for in a
good defender too.
Any of those players are, again, he can defend. It makes shots, but it's also a guy that's probably going to accept a role of about 10, 12 minutes a game, and that's what you need. That's kind of the problem is like, we joked about like one of the problems with Westbrook, even if he fit or you wanted him, not on this team, on any team, trying to bring him to a winning team is he's just going to friggin' want to play 33 minutes and have the ball in his hands a lot. It's like, no, I don't want you to do that. Like you really got to be smart. It's a thing fans don't think about. I don't think about in terms of like, you just want to amass, like, I think fans look at trades and acquisitions like you look at your fantasy football team. Like, I want 4 wide receiver ones and like 2 stud RBs. I want it all. Give me everything. And like, that's fine. It works there. But on this, where there's only so much minutes to go around, whoever you're bringing in here has to accept their role. The Pirtle risk was it's a guy in a contract year wants to be playing 30 plus minutes a game and starting. You think he wanted to be the third big in the Celtics rotation? Like if I were him, I would. That could cause problems. You bring in somebody that like
and Bobby, that's what Brad alluded to. I think that's what Brad was trying to allude to. I think he was trying to say like, okay, the report that's out there, maybe it didn't work, but at the same time, like it would have been difficult. He talked about other players losing playing time, trying to incorporate a new player. And it just gave me that sense that it was just like, well, wait a minute. And he put it perfectly, actually. It's like, yeah, you want to fill a role, but you want this guy to know or be okay with the fact that he's not going to play a lot. And the way this rotation is set, they don't really have space for someone like that. That's going to start taking away minutes from other guys in the front court, whether that means Grant or whether that means, someone in the backcourt. That's not the plan. That's not how Brad Stevens is going into the buyout market, with that set of mind. He wants to make sure this guy is, of course, a good locker room guy, can check off the boxes, but also knows that he's going to be a 10 to 11 minute guy at best.
Yep.
I think this guy's perfect, and he can play a little bit if he needs to.
6'6".
It's ideal. Yeah, this guy's ideal.
You need a wing.
I worry about the Lakers, though, who we won a championship, snatching them up with.
If everyone wants to keep going to LA teams and getting knocked out in the play-in games or in the first round of the playoffs, go to Miami and have the same thing too. Like if you, the problem is, who are you? What do you want? What do you want to be? You want to hang out with your friends and have a fun couple of months, or do you want to win? Like, it's so stupid to think like the LA teams and like, I mean, the Clippers aren't bad, obviously. On paper,
I mean,
I'm
with
still
you,
a
John,
top 4 team, but like, my God,
I just feel like the LeBron era, if you will, has a lot to do with that, right? He made it look fun. He made it look. I mean, that first year in Miami, they didn't do it right away, but they eventually did. And I feel like a lot of older all-stars or perennial all-stars who were kind of from that generation are thinking the same. Oh, if I join this team with a couple of superstars, then we're destined to win a championship. And obviously, the rest of the league is caught up at this point, right? It's more about role players and guys that can, know their role, can contribute, and find continuity. You can't just put together a bunch of talented guys and expect a championship to just pop out.
But some guys just want, and this is a really good point, some guys just want minutes. It's a showcase, it's a showcase.
I don't know if that's where he's at, though, in his
He's
career.
not.
He should want a ring.
He wants – this guy is the fit. And again, I don't know. I know he had injury. He's coming off an injury. And, a lot of times when you see a name like Danny Green, a lot of people think of like a past version of them. And we don't know whether that person really exists ananymore.
Man, remember him in the finals in 2014? He might have been the MVP.
So you might just be getting some broke ass kind of like, used used car that can barely get off the lot. And then it ends up not being what you wanted. So, but
you get the Spurs. You get the Spurs thing there too. I'm sure he might know some of these coaches.
It makes sense because of his physical profile and his skill set and where he is in his career and his willingness to whatever. I just don't know if he can still play.
Yeah, you hope they make that pitch to him. With Blake, definitely go out there, tell him how great it's been being in that role, how good the room is. I think guys get surprised by how good this room is, for sure. Like Blake has talked a lot about that recently. And then you see the things they do with him. They get him that spot start on Wednesday. They have those nights where he's a showcase guy. And I think they could do the same for Green if they're trying to rest Brown and Tatum down the stretch here. And he can continue rehabbing behind the scenes too, if that's what he needs.
Yeah.
I love this move. And
reality is it probably doesn't do anything for you. But
no, it doesn't. But no one will. Like, everyone expects a buyout guy to come in and rock your world every year, and then they don't. I keep talking about Greg Monroe, who came in and was okay, but didn't do much at all. It certainly didn't move the needle on that team. He
wasn't okay, Bobby.
No, he gave you some good minutes in that Philly series that you won that year. But other than that, not much from him. And none of these guys are going to give you much. Like, you fall in love with some of these names out there, but these guys are out there on buyouts for a reason. Like, no team's going to buy out a guy they want or that's useful for them or that they could have traded. So, like, Terrence Ross, Will Barton, I'm not fans of those guys. And certainly not Russ.
I'm not fans of any of them. That's why they're buyout guys. Like, here's the funny thing about the buyout. Go back in the history of buyouts and tell me each person that's been massively significantly
I can't even think of one.
To a team. There are some. We've done this exercise before.
There's some, but with this, it happened over a decade ago.
But each year you might have. Oh yeah. There was that guy. There's like 2 over the last 15 years that that guy played. PJ Brown. I think
Tim just brought up one. Boris Diaw was probably a legitimate one. You can say, okay, that worked out for San Antonio that year.
It's so funny that people are like, oh my God, we'll be fine. We'll just enter the buyout market and get somebody. Like, it's the buyout market. It's literally picking through the trash. Yeah,
said the guy who watched PJ Brown and Sam Cassell, do that last hurrah in their careers, but like. That's it. It hasn't been a success since. There was the Michael Finleys and the Troy Murphys and the, even down the road when it was guys that you knew were just end of the bench guys. And they're thinking about that year. They're still thinking about 08. And maybe they're thinking about Boris Diaw with the Spurs.
Yeah, you get a couple, but it's just it's really those typically don't matter.
Right.
And so you get somebody, and you think you're getting something that was like a past version of that person, and you're not. Danny Green may fall into that. That being said, I think it's as good as an option that's out there. Obviously, Barton is another one. So we'll see. But it's all the same. Terrence Ross, you might be thinking of a version of Terrence Ross that existed a couple of years ago, because we've been talking about getting Terrence Ross for 5 years.
Well, he used to cook the Celtics too. That's why. I bet you Celtics fans remember that.
You do remember that always.
Yeah.
So we're gonna wrap. We're back on Super Bowl Sunday with a game.
Sir.
We will keep it We will keep it brief because we know you got stuff to do and get your, make your pies or whatever it is that you make on.
John loves pies.
Yeah. No, it's kind of become my thing. I'm not all about the pie. Anyway, what you guys have?
But you're definitely gonna have a pie for Sunday. There's no doubt about it.
I don't have time for pie. Are you guys have any good Super Bowl foods?
Food? Nah, yeah. I always walk into the game and whatever, pizza, whatever's
wings.
there.
Give me my wings. I'm good.
Yeah.
It's not like a big eating event for me. It's just walk into that game. It's a great one this year. It's going to be way better than last year, I think. And hopefully, I don't really have a huge preference either way. I like the Chiefs. They're fine.
Yeah.
The Eagles are really fun to watch, but I'm not a big fan of them either. I don't have a huge rooting interest in this one. I do find it interesting that the Eagles are favored, though. You would think that the Chiefs would have more hype going into the game, but it's pretty much a pick 'em, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I actually prefer I prefer the Eagles.
Look at that comment right there. John Zannis is pies. He's lying. He's got me in the oven right now.
Yeah.
Jimmy probably cares. He doesn't want that Brady legacy entrenched upon.
Probably going to wear a Brady jersey Sunday night.
So actually, that's the thing is
Rihanna halftime's interesting too.
I like Pitt.
Hey, by the way, guys. In all seriousness, BOL has some pretty cool prop bets about which songs.
Up. We don't talk about that here. Yeah, but
True.
yeah. But you can check that out anyway.
Check it out.
There's a lot of fun stuff.
CLNS.com.
There's a lot of fun stuff that you can do. I make a chili, but I don't know if I'm going to do that this year. I don't know if I'm going to do that this year.
Chili. We're going
to hear about
that at a Super Bowl party.
Yeah.
Josue, we're going to hear about the great things he's making, but we're not invited.
Not invited.
Hey, send the pics. I'm down.
We're like I'm Tatum and you guys are Jaylen Brown. We don't hang. But if I did knock either, but I did show concern when you hit the ground, Bobby.
We had a couple of times where we were close to all hanging out, but just something.
Next year we're doing Friendsgiving. I swear. CLNS.
I'm
style.
down.
We'll do it at my house.
No, everyone bring a dish. I'm down. Let's do it.
We'll do it at my house. We'll cook and we'll film it. It'll be a Friendsgiving. We'll do it next year.
I'm excited.
I promise that.
But we're gonna hold you to it. You heard that, Bobby?
Yeah.
Noted.
No,
I also saw someone on Twitter saying that if Rob hits a 3, they'll do 300 push-ups. So look out for that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
He might have to do it. I can see Rob hitting one.
Just take one. Yeah, the chat's mad tonight. Whatever. See you on Sunday.
Bobby don't care anymore. He's spent. He's tired.
Yeah. No, you keep getting put in timeout just because you're a troll. That's I don't know how else to put it to you.
This is your Friday night. No.
You're just a relentless troll. Just chat with everybody, guys. Just chat like everybody else. Here we go. It's just what everybody else does. You're just a troll. That's it. Back on Sunday. Memphis, is it?
2 p.m. Memphis.
Yeah.
Tough and rugged Memphis. I can't wait.
Stay tuned. 4:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll lead right into the game. Perfect timing.
Yeah.
You guys think John Moran's going to roll deep since the Super Bowl Sunday? Or?
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye out for that.
Just watch out for the lasers.
Yo, crazy story.
The trained lasers there. Anyway, we'll wrap it again. Thanks for hanging out. Good room, good group. Sorry some of you are as angry as you are, but that's okay.
Enjoy your Friday night.
Enjoy the rest of the night. Be nice to each other. Love everyone.
Josue and I are going to go get a few drinks.
Are you?
For our Friday, yeah.
Good. I'm glad. Take Amit.
We'll do.
He could use one. He could use one. Okay. All right. Good stuff, guys. Thank you. First round's on me. I'll see you guys later. Good night,
all right.
Before you do that.